when it comes to your guys' respective projects, has it been harder to get people excited about what you guys are working on? Because as we know, last year around Christmas, the crypto craze was going nuts, right? Bitcoin was at $19,000. It's crashed a bit, obviously, since then. Or have you guys noticed that institutionally, at least, everyone's still pretty going full bore?
I have to answer that one only just to say, personally, I love volatility. I'm thrilled that the market has taken a little bit of a dive because it gets rid of a lot of the fat. It gets rid of a lot of the confusion. People get excited about hype. The market went up. It was kind of crazy. But I guarantee you that most of the people that were trying to set up wallets or invest in tokens or ICOs or Bitcoin in general had no idea what they were investing in, and they were just winging it.
It's been so interesting because last year it was a completely different market. Almost everyone that wanted to get into this had access to get into it, and now they're sitting back and crying over everything that they've lost out on it. So for us, it's actually, as an evangelist into this market, I love that, because this is going to allow the next wave of this revolution to actually start to become institutionalized and to gain acceptance across the board. What you're seeing is a lot of dead projects, but then what you're also seeing is a lot of projects that didn't necessarily have all the attention that they had or that they deserved, but now they're starting to gain that because there was actually valid use cases behind it. And the other thing also that's key to keep in mind right now is because of where the price of Bitcoin, of how it dropped, which affected all of the other coins that are in this space as well. And if you remember, the whole notion behind ICOs, their initial coin offerings, which means that the underlying coins that are supporting them, they've dropped in value. Well, if they've dropped in value, what that means is the cost of that fuel that those projects were using has decreased as well. So if the cost of that fuel is decreased, that means there's more and more opportunities to develop. So what you're seeing right now is across a lot of these projects that exist, the valid ones, you're starting to see more and more innovation start to come out. And I agree with Lauren to her point. This is very, very necessary.
So gaming it's been wild. The last, I would say, let's say 9 months. So Crypto Kitties, which I'm not sure how many people have heard of, but that was kind of the first crypto game, so to speak. And that launched in December, and tens of millions, I think $20 million of Crypto Kitties were purchased. So for us, it was like simultaneous to this fall, we were seeing this huge spike in blockchain gaming. And when I say blockchain gaming, I'm really talking about these non-fungible tokens, basically the rights to digital assets in games. And so CryptoKitties launched that, and now just since then, that was #1. Since then, we're looking like 700 well-funded projects that are trying to enter that space, which is just, unbelievable growth.
Real hardcore technologists love distributed ledger technology. Some say, and I believe it, it's the stuff of an industrial revolution. So when you look at it from that standpoint, I think, these guys that are up late at night coding, and they're in Silicon Valley, they're in Silicon Beach, they're all over the world. They're completely agnostic to the market conditions. A lot of them aren't even participating. It's just kind of, for them right now, it's kind of trivial, participating in something where the innovation hasn't picked up yet. They haven't been able to put their mark on it just yet.
Gotcha. When it comes to Hollywood in particular, like where should we actually look for this technology to make an impact? Are there any concrete examples right now, or is it still just a nascent industry right now?
Sure. It gives us an opportunity to talk about one of our projects. So I'll talk about an actual project that we're engaged in right now, which is MovieCoin, and that is it's essentially putting Hollywood onto the blockchain. So there's a spectrum of different projects or different use cases that it could apply towards. The first one that we're looking to tackle is Hollywood financing. So remember those 4 points that I mentioned. One thing, Hollywood is a very, very sexy industry, right? Everyone wants to get involved into it. The problem, of course, has been that in trying to get involved into it, there's been generally large barriers to entry for a lot of folks. So one thing one component that blockchain how it stands to revolutionize it is in breaking out those barriers to entry. So once you're able to tokenize, if you're able to tokenize film funds, for example, the ability for folks to get involved into that space becomes massively easier. Then outside of that, the issue has been once you've put your funding into this, it's how do you you account for where the money is going? Well, there's one thing that I've learned as I started to get involved into this is this term called Hollywood accounting, which is essentially once you throw your money in there, it goes inside of a black box, so it becomes very, very difficult to see, to follow and see where the money trail is and what's being utilized for what. Well, again, once you put something onto the blockchain, it's there. So it's there forever. There's the transparency piece for it comes into it. Then the other aspect of it is liquidity. So generally, when you're investing in a fund, you're in some sort of a film fund or a slate of films, your funds are locked in for at least anywhere between 8 to 10 years. Well, by the tokenization of these film funds, you're creating secondary markets, and within those secondary markets, liquidity becomes key. So anyone can get involved in it, and they have a secondary market to be able to come in and out of.